Hello, my name is Molly. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to do a quick video about shadow work, what that means, and how you would do shadow work. A lot of people talk about this, and they talk about this idea of a dark night of the soul. These things are intertwined with each other. So the idea simply of a shadow is that these are aspects of yourself, of your life, that are not maybe considered light aspects, right? Oftentimes we can look at the light as happiness, bliss, just feeling really great. And then there's, that shadow aspect to all of these things, right? In the balance, right? If you think about a yin yang. So we have all this light, we have these really beautiful experiences, and then we have these, different experiences that may seem darker, heavier, denser. Certainly things that we maybe have tried to push aside, ignore, bury. And not just you, perhaps there are things that, the people around you have encouraged you to ignore, or they have done that themselves. Even on a society level, there's certain things, you're not supposed to talk about, or, we don't really have that as much now, but growing up, and I know that the older generations, there were a lot of things like, you keep your skeletons, in your family or in your closet, or I don't know, these weird ideas that we're not supposed to talk about certain things because they might make someone uncomfortable. But the reality is, I think that uncomfortable is where a lot of people start to learn and grow. So the shadow aspects are not anything to be afraid of. It's a very natural part of you and of life. So when we ignore those things, they pop up in different ways. They can certainly be shown in really dense experiences through abuse, anger, pain, trauma. Those would be some denser expressions of these things that have been I keep wanting to say like buried. So let's tap into this for a second. Let's say you have a lot of anger. Just find yourself feeling really angry about a lot of things. Well, I think that emotions guide us. Okay, so if you're really angry about something, you want to tap in and say, why is that making me so angry? And sometimes there's an easy, answer. You can be like, well, that person's a real jerk or something like that. But usually it's not that simple. Usually if you're feeling really, really difficult, dense emotions or really powerful emotions, right? In any way, but we're talking about the shadow aspects. They're guiding you somewhere. Okay. Let's say you feel really angry because this person was really, really rude to you, and they've always been, maybe it's a family member. They've always been really rude to you. They've always been really disrespectful, and that's, it's terrible. They're a terrible person. But, dare we delve a little deeper, and we can say, well, you know what? Maybe it's, how do I treat that person? And then what does that reflect to me? I'm allowing this relationship, and yes, I say that even when it is a family member, you are allowing this exchange, you are allowing this energy. Perhaps they pull you, right? You feel like, oh, whenever I'm around that person, I'm in a terrible mood. Why are you in a terrible mood? What is it? Perhaps they complain a lot. You don't really like to be around that. Or maybe you complain a lot and you're not realizing how much you're actually complaining. These are kind of surface situations, but it's these kind of ideas. Perhaps you've had a life where you find that, you get in these relationships and people are constantly abandoning you. This is a big one, right? You feel abandoned all the time. So you've kind of shut down. You have this really protective shield around you, closed yourself down pretty hard. And, it's all these people. And perhaps then you realize, well, you know what? It's all these people are abandoning me. I'll abandon them. And then you tap into that a little bit more and you go, oh, well, I had people in my life, in my childhood, that I thought should be there and they weren't there. Maybe they were there physically, but they weren't there emotionally. Maybe they weren't there physically, whatever the case may be, you were abandoned, right? You felt that. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a pet. There's a variety of places that this can go, but you felt abandoned. And then you go a little deeper, right? And then you realize, you know what? I'm not listening to myself. I'm not valuing myself. I'm not there for myself. In a sense, you've abandoned yourself, right? See how we can go through all these layers here into this what seems like, oh, that person's just terrible. They just walked out the door on me. How dare they? But it's almost never. It's just that simple one-off, right? It's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of healing. And for each layer, you're going to want to go in there and say, you know, what can I learn from this? What can I get from this? And then at the end of the day, you know, you want to say, wow, that was such an amazing lesson. You know, once you stop crying, maybe, and once you're able to get through a lot of these emotions. I'm making this sound very simple. It is not. Please don't misunderstand me. But, you know, once you get to that bottom or that heart of it, you know, wow, look at what I've learned. I have, you know, abandoned myself. And you know what? I am not going to choose that anymore. I'm going to choose to listen to myself and be there for myself and love myself in that way and not look for it on the outside of me. You know, there's a lot of this, and this is an endless pool of situations and experiences that we can go through. But that's kind of, that's the definition, if you will, of that shadow work, is looking into these less comfortable or uncomfortable or painful traumatic experiences in our lives and patterns that we experience, and get into it and realize, what is it? What is this meant to show me? What is this meant to teach me? Because I promise you, there is nothing that's happening that you are just a victim to. And I know that can be triggering, but there are lessons here, right? If someone has taken your power away from you, you feel like, gosh, I was absolutely abused and victimized, and this is awful, and you lost your power, right? And this isn't a fault game. This isn't a judgment. This is just an experience, okay? So we want to kind of try to hold those emotions at bay for a moment. Perhaps that was an experience that you, on a higher level, thought that you could experience, that you could handle, to then say, no, I'm not a victim, okay? I am whole. I am strong. I can reclaim, okay? Not that you would lose it, but the idea that you would have lost it. And then I am strong. I can heal from this. I can understand from this. And perhaps you can find compassion, right, in your situation, certainly for yourself, and then maybe for other people that are experiencing, you know, said trauma or abuse. There's just too many people that have experienced these really difficult situations for it to just be, oh, well, this times are tough, and why are we even here? Because this is so awful and terrible. I think that the idea is that we are here because we believe that we can understand, learn, grow, heal, and transform, right? Not just ourselves, but everything around us and society at large. And that may seem like just an impossible task, but I think it's happening around us, right? There's just so much changing, and there's so much happening all around us. I think now you can really feel it. And we want to be very mindful when these things are happening. You know, when you're falling into fear, when you're falling into, and I say falling because I think that's kind of how it almost feels like you know, when you get into fear or anxiety, it almost feels like you're surrounded in this like dense fog or this thing. And you know, how do you get out? Well, you get out by taking a breath, or taking a day of breaths, I don't know, and saying, you know, why am I experiencing this? What is going on in my life? What can I, always a good question, what can I learn from this? What can I understand? And sometimes that may take a while. You know, it's not that you're always going to just see it like that and you're always just going to understand it. But if you want to, you will come to a realization. You just have to be open, right? It may not be the understanding that you thought. You may not be experiencing that for the reasons that you thought. Okay? And I think that just being open and saying, okay, I'm willing to look at myself. I'm willing to see where I have contributed to the situation, even if you think there's nothing that you could have possibly contributed to the situation, right? What can I do now, right? Let's say, well, how could I have possibly done that? Maybe I was just a child, or all these things, right? I understand that. But now, in this moment, what can you do, right? Are you going to keep giving that energy to that situation or that experience, feeding it, right? Feeding something that isn't good for you, that doesn't help you, that just takes from you, right? Or are you going to say, no, I'm not feeding that anymore. Okay, I am strong here, even if you don't feel strong. You just kind of tell yourself that. And believe it or not, after a while, you actually will start to tap into that strength that you hold, and go from there, right? There's certainly a lot of times where, a good cry, to really allow that out, right? Any of these things are actually releases, even getting sick. Any release in your body, it is a release, right? That includes crying, that includes, I'm not going to be too vulgar, but any kind of release in your body, right? And that is healthy, okay? As you become more aware of your emotions and as you dig deeper, you will find more, like a smoother transition as you go into these. But in that beginning, when you first start getting into this stuff, it can be very difficult and overwhelming to look at ourselves and see where we've, undervalued ourselves, where we've become sheep in a situation, right? Where we just followed the leader and did what we were told, even if we don't consider ourselves that kind of person, right? Where we were codependent. That's a huge one, right? You think, gosh, I'm so strong. I'm not codependent, but be amazed, especially in this culture of likes and, popularity, like how many followers you have or things like that. That is certainly an area here of codependency that, is new, right? So there's so many things here. And again, it'll be unique for each of us. But I think there are some common themes that come up often with a lot of us. So I hope that was a simple and fairly basic understanding of shadow work. If you have any questions or you'd like me to delve deeper into a certain area, I'd be happy to. Just leave a comment below. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it as we talk about codependency. But I think that's actually how the message gets shared. And that is why I'm doing this, to help anyone, or through understanding or clarity or conversation. So sending so much love and light. Thank you.